All right, give us a thumbs up, everybody in the viewing audience, if you can hear Kevin. Kevin, go ahead and just say something.
Yeah, I'm here. Hopefully we can get this thing going. Hope everybody's here. It's going to be a great interview. I'm just going to go and share from the heart. I tried not to, be scripted. So.
Gotcha. All right. Well, hey, let's. We're going to go ahead and move forward. Once again, this is When Men Open Up, a show where we are redefining manhood through transparency. I'm Dexter Peggins.
And I'm Dominique.
And listen, we have a what I know is going to be a very powerful show. One of the things that me and Dominique that was important to us when we first launched When Men Open Up was to create a platform where men could talk about issues that are normally quite difficult to talk about. We wanted to provide a safe space, and we wanted to model what it looked like for other men, so we could begin to have these conversations around the area of healing, and not only healing, but really finding balance as it relates to being men. And one of the things that we also recognized the need was to have these difficult conversations and to show people what it looked like. And so a few weeks ago, we actually had our first episode of I'm a Man and I Was Molested. And if you haven't had the chance to view that, it's actually on YouTube right now. And we were fortunate to have Mark Jenkins here from Augusta, Georgia, talk about his molestation as a child. Based upon the response of that particular video, we recognize that, we need to give more attention to this area. And so from that recognition, we put out a response to the audience. And we were actually really overwhelmed with how many responses we received from people wanting to talk about their story. And so today we are honored to have Brother Kevin here joining us today, Kevin Williams, live from California. And he's going to be sharing his story with the molestation and his story about how he overcame, dealing with that trauma. So Kevin, if you wouldn't mind, introduce yourself to the people. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll go from there.
Okay. So my name is Kevin Williams. I'm from California, born and raised in San Jose, and 38 years old, soon to be 39. I'm a father of a 15-year-old daughter. I have two sisters, my mom, of course, and I'm 2 years, almost 3 years clean off of drugs and alcohol, and God is good, life is good.
I got you. Well, hey, listen, we're gonna get ready to go in this interview, and we had the benefit of actually talking with you previous to you coming onto the show, and I know that after we had that conversation with you, when I spoke with Dominique, I said, man, this guy's story is amazing. So, without further ado, we're going to dive right into this conversation on tonight.
Okay.
So, let me ask you, we're talking about men, we're talking about molestation. Can you share with the audience your experience and what happened to you?
So I was 5 years old, about, I don't know exactly, but I was around 5 years old, and my stepfather and a friend that came into the place where we were staying. I was sleeping. I remember being alone, and they were getting ready to go out for the night, right? And then my stepfather moved. He went to the next room, and his friend was in the room with me. And he pulled my pants down and followed me and things like that, right? And my stepfather came in, seen what was going on, told him to stop, and then they both left for the evening. And I didn't really know what was going on. I remember having this feeling of why are they leaving? Did I do something wrong? And they left me there by myself. You know, back in those days, it appeared that it was okay for parents to, you know, like leave kids alone by themselves, go to sleep, I'll be back, that type of thing. So I remember being left alone after that. And my mother came home. I'm not sure how long after that it was, but she came home and she was wondering why my parents were down. I didn't really have an answer. And that was that. It pretty much got swept under the rug. Nothing else was said or done about it at that time. So that was the first molestation. Did you want me to continue?
No, we're definitely going to go a lot further in this conversation. And for you all out there, if you have any questions for Kevin, please feel free to type those questions in the comment box, and we'll make it a point to ask Kevin those questions. And so you said that was the first molestation. What about the subsequent times?
So the second time I was molested, I was older. Again, I don't know exactly how old. Maybe 8, 9. I was at one of my cousin's house. I used to spend a lot of time there. It seemed like during the weekends, I was always at this cousin's house. I loved being over there. And his cousin was older. We were in the room this one particular night, and we were looking at porno books. I didn't really know what I was looking at. I just remember that I wanted to be part of, so I was looking at them with them. At some point, he pushed me against the wall and forced me to perform oral on him. After that happened, you know, he started crying. He started praying, asking God to forgive him, and he begged me to not say anything. So I did. And I remember after that happened, us being called to dinner and sitting around the table with my uncle, my aunt, my other cousin, his sister, and him, and just acting as if nothing happened, moving right along as if everything was normal. And to be honest, at the time, I didn't really think that anything was wrong. You know, I don't know. I really like this cousin, and to this day, you know, we're close. However, at the time, I just brushed it under the rug because I didn't think that it was that bad of a thing.
So let me ask you, you said on the first time with your stepfather's friend that your mother came into the room and found you with your pants down. What was her response other than just seeing you with your pants down? Was there any anger? Was there any trying to, you know, get some get some questions answered? Maybe even confront the stepfather's friend?
So they weren't there, and again, I'm like 5, so this is all stuff that's coming from my subconscious. So this is as I remember it. As I remember it, I just remember her coming in and, you know, wondering why my pants were down. Because I didn't pull them up myself. I just kind of just laid there and went back to sleep. So when she came in, she was asking me like why my pants were down. I'm just like, I don't know. You know, I'm sure that they talked about it, or maybe she brought it up, or maybe she didn't. I really don't know. I just know that I was never brought into a conversation. I was never asked. He never asked me, like, hey, did anybody touch you or anything like that? So it was just something that, oh, okay, whatever, we're moving on. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Nothing going on.
So from the incident with your stepfather's friend onto your cousin, these were two men who molested you. Can you talk about how that impacted you in your adolescence and coming up into your early adulthood?
Absolutely. Something that I've thought about a lot. So part of it was the part that has really bothered me my whole life is, I didn't want to be gay, right? And the part where my cousin told me, don't say anything, and I sat there at dinner and, acted as if everything was okay, it kind of made me feel like I liked it, to be honest, right? So there's this thing that happened to me. I liked it. I didn't say anything about it. So now I must be gay. I didn't want to be gay, right? This is growing up. People in the Black American community, just people in general, when I was growing up, being gay was not something that was a good idea. It wasn't something that everybody embraced with love. So it was something that I was very thankful of. On top of that, I was never able to be the type of young man that I thought I should be. I thought that I didn't measure up. A lot of my insecurities come around my ability to be like a Mac Daddy, if you will. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Another thing that I know, a lot of pressure that I had growing up is the pressure to be, promiscuous, to sleep with a lot of chicks, to be a Mac Daddy, to be a player, all those things, and I wasn't that guy. I wasn't that guy because I was shy, and I wasn't that guy also because I have this dark secret that I couldn't share with anybody. And I feel like that was one of the main things that kept me from being like everybody else.
So, were there any other instances where of molestation after that?
No, not molestation. No.
Okay. Now, how old was your cousin when it happened to you? You said you was about 8 or 9. How old was your cousin?
Probably 15, 16.
Okay, and that was the only time it happened?
Yes.
Okay. And you stated that, your relationship with him is okay right now. How was the last or the conversation when you confronted him about it or questioned him about it? How did that conversation go?
I'm kind of jumping around here. However, I was in my first marriage, and I'd gotten caught, being a down low brother, if you will, right? And rather than just opening up and just saying, hey, this is what it is, or this is what happened, or this is where I'm at, or just being open and honest, like I am now, I blamed it on the molestation, and it wasn't my fault, it was his fault, and this, so I blamed it on this cousin, and while under the influence, intoxicated, I called him up and was just like, you did this to me, and now I'm in a fight with my wife, type of thing. So we had an argument about it, and at that time, he told me that I probably liked it, which really hurt.
Wow. So
later, it's weird, but I ended up apologizing to him for a approaching the topic the way that I did.
So when this happened to you, did you ever blame yourself for it happening?
You talking about when it happened when I was a kid?
Yes.
No, I didn't blame myself for it. No.
Okay.
Hey, everybody out there in the who's catching this show by way of Facebook, if you wouldn't mind, could you put in the comment section if you can hear Kevin or not? Just say we can hear you. Kevin, because we did jump. So when you picked up, you mentioned that you're married, and so from this time of adolescence, moving in, transitioning into young adulthood, you find yourself married. What happened, I guess, between that phase of maybe high school to your first marriage?
So between high school and first marriage, I found myself exploring. And so let me just throw this out there. It's still a little difficult for me to talk about openly. I've been doing it. I've been sharing my story here and there, but it's still a little difficult, so just bear with me a little bit. So actually during junior high, I started exploring, right? Started going places where I knew that men hooked up with men. I was super young, and I started exploring. Like I mentioned, like after the second time that it happened, I started wondering, like, am I like that? Did I like it? And those thoughts led to me wanting to explore it again. So between like junior high and the first time I got into my first serious relationship, I was 21, and I was hooking up with guys on the down low, trying to find something, trying to find some kind of identity, some kind of acceptance, some kind of to fill that hole. I don't really know what I was looking for, but I know that every time that I hooked up with a dude, I came up empty, and afterwards, I hated myself. There was a lot of self-hate, a lot of disgust, a lot of shame, a lot of guilt. And that's when, like, my disease really, like, took over. So then I would just, cover up that hurt and that pain and that shame with drugs. Well, I got the bright idea that if I was married, a woman would make me whole. She would fix me, right? So I got with this woman. She was very loving. She had a family. She had 2 daughters already, and I jumped into there, and I became the stepdad and the husband. I was young. I wasn't ready to be a husband. I was still confused, really, and I was still like a young man pretending to be a boy. I tried, and our relationship lasted for 7 years. But I primarily got married, one, because I wouldn't have to be confronted with the fear of talking to women and not being able to, being a Mac daddy, not being able to, not knowing how. So I got married so I wouldn't have to do that. And I also got married so that she could fix me.
And so when you say fix me, what do you believe you needed fixing from?
From being gay, from sleeping with guys. I felt like if I had a relationship where I could always have sex with a woman, then I wouldn't have to sleep with a man.
So you mentioned that this was your first marriage, which means it came to an end. What were the circumstances between with that marriage coming to an end, and what did that look like transitioning into being single and to your next relationship?
So, well, we had a good marriage for a while. I was employed. I was always drinking or drugging though, and towards the end, I started using meth. And you know, like the drugs and the alcohol, I keep bringing it up because it's an important part of the story, right? So towards the end, I started. For a long period, I didn't do anything. I wasn't, creeping out. I wasn't cheating. I wasn't doing any of that. Towards the end, towards the last year of our 7-year relationship, I started using meth. And meth just opened up this whole beast within me, and things went south fast. I mean, I started hooking up on the internet. Craigslist was big back then, and just it was bad. It was bad. So between her finding, I wasn't that good at covering up my tracks either. So between her finding out stuff, me being on drugs, and just being a complete asshole, our relationship came to an end, and I moved out. Once I moved out, I was free to do all those things that I was not free to do while living at the house and in that relationship. And needless to say, things went downhill very fast from there.
Now, when you said things went downhill, can you kind of go more in detail on how things went downhill for your marriage?
Well, when I was at home, I was a functional addict. I went to work. I was trying to hide my drug use. I was going to work daily. I was trying to participate in the family dynamics. Once things got bad and I moved out, I didn't have to pretend anymore. I didn't have to hide. So I ended up I moved out and got fired from my job a couple of months later. My drug use went through the roof, and so did my sexual activities. So the thing with meth, it allowed me to all the things. It allowed me to just all the walls came down, right? And where I was just trying to figure out who I was, nothing mattered. So I went into all these situations with complete abandon. And again, like I mentioned, every single time that I was in a sexual situation, I felt this shame and guilt. So you can imagine just over and over and over and over, just layer and layer and layer of hate and shame and guilt that I was building up just between the drug use and the sexual activities. It was a lot, and it got to be a little overwhelming to the point where I lost my place to live. I lost my job. I've lost all communication with the family for a while. I was going in and out of jail, and I was homeless.
When you were find yourself hooked on drugs, and even with the your lifestyle choices, did you attribute that to your molestation, or did you just chalk it up to this is just how I want to live? What was your thought process back then?
It all always was attributed to the molestation. And it was always a battle. Like, if you're doing this, Kevin, then you might as well just accept it and be happy with it. And I've approached that idea before, but I was never able to just sit with it and accept it. And for a while, I didn't know if it was because I didn't know if I would be accepted, which I'm sure that was part of it, or if that just wasn't me, that just wasn't my get down, even though I was partaking in it. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's like, how do you even wrap your mind around that? You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing it, but I don't like it. I don't want to do it, but I continue doing it. But yes, to answer your question, it all boils down to the molestation.
And you stated before you continue doing it just for yourself to see if this is really who I am or is this not who I am, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was searching for something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't even like fully worked out all of it in my mind to just come to a concrete decision about, so I could outline it for you. I just know that I was doing it and I didn't like it, but I felt like I was trapped. Meth is a hell of a drug, and it makes you do things that you normally wouldn't do.
For everybody who's joining us right now, we're speaking with Kevin Williams. Kevin Williams, as a young man, was molested, and he's come on Women Open Up show to share his story. If you all have any questions that you would like for Kevin to answer, please feel free to add those questions to the comment section. All right, so Kevin, you mentioned earlier that you did have an opportunity to confront your cousin. My question is, were you able to confront the friend of your stepfather? And if so, what was the circumstances behind that confrontation?
No, I wasn't able to confront the friend. Recently, I was able to confront my stepfather. The circumstances behind that were so he hit on me straight up. My stepfather hit on me. This happened like a month ago. He was asking me some very inappropriate. Okay, so our relationship hasn't been close. He just got out of prison, and I kept my distance. I'm in recovery. I make good decisions about who I want around me. I have strong boundaries, and part of my boundaries, he was on the other side of it, right? And at some point, my heart softened a little bit, and I wanted to, have some forgiveness in my heart. And I was supposed to go and pick this guy up, take him to a super late Father's Day lunch, and as I'm getting ready to go to his house, he's asking me these super inappropriate sexual questions. And I was in shock because I'm a 38-year-old man now, right? And I couldn't believe that he was hitting on me. And I didn't really get it at the time that he was. I had to share it with somebody else, and they told me that's what he was doing. I just knew that my internal alarm bells were going off. I didn't like the way it made me feel, and it made me feel like a little kid again with no option. So at that time, I was able to confront him because at this point I've already done a tremendous amount of work to get to the point of even sharing this with you right now. So when this happened with him, I'm just like, I confronted him about what happened, how it's made me feel my whole life, how it made me feel right this minute when he said that, and why I'm not going to allow him to be part of my life moving forward. And that gave me the power, and I felt victorious after that. So.
So how else, when you, because he was there when it happened to you, did he say anything specifically to what his friend did to you?
No, he denied it. He acted as if it didn't happen. And like, I don't know. Like, Kevin, don't know what I'm talking about. Never happened. He doesn't remember. Like, it was nothing. And in all fairness to him, he probably doesn't remember. I mean, I don't want to speak for him. I'm sure he remembers. But he's so fucked up in the head even now that he's just a sick man. So I don't know where his level of consciousness is. I don't want to speak. I don't want to give excuses for him. I don't want to excuse him. I just know that he denied it, and he didn't have any ownership over it. No apologies, no nothing. And why would he if he's like trying to hit on me again? You know what I mean?
And for clarification, you say this happened. He tried to hit on you a month ago. Was that
about a month ago? Yeah.
Okay. And was that the first time you and him had the conversation about you being molested by his friend?
Yes. So we kind of jumped around again. So the whole reason that it came up is because of I have, when I was out there prior to my second marriage, I contracted HIV, right? Mm-hmm. And that was another thing that that kept me out there. It kept me out there. The shame and guilt, all time high. I wanted to die. I didn't think anybody was going to, love me or want to be around me or anything with me, and I wanted to die. So fast forward. I seen him at this place where people who have HIV go get services. And the only reason that anybody would be at this place is if they have HIV. And lo and behold, I see his ass there. But, I didn't want to like approach the subject with him then, and he didn't either. So again, it was just kind of like, oh, hey, a little uncomfortable. So a month prior to him hitting on me, we were on this road trip, and I asked him, I was like, so how long, you had HIV, da-da-da. And we had that conversation. So with that conversation, that opened it up for him to know that, I was in this community. These are some of the things I had done, blah, blah, blah. And it made him, and that, I'm sure that made it a little more comfortable for him to take it to the next level on his end.
We have a question for one of the viewers, and it says, "What would you say was key in initiating your journey towards healing?"
Good question. I didn't know that there was healing with being molested. The key to my healing was to get off of drugs and alcohol, because a lot of the pain and a lot of the choices that I made when I was loaded came from the drug use. So my main goal was to get off of drugs and alcohol, stop going to jail, stop being homeless, And in the midst of working really hard to stay clean, healing started happening for the molestation as well. It opened up a road to walk down that road of healing. Does that answer the question?
No, that was great. I will follow up. I have a follow up question. That would be, what do you hope would come from, you sharing your story?
It's my hope that nobody suffer in silence, right? I don't understand the magic and the power of verbalizing your pain and sharing that pain with others, but just me being able to do that has opened up a world of possibilities. I mean, just me sharing it now, takes away the stigma, it takes away the secret. I'm just able to get it out. I mean, it's as if, if I hold those secrets in my body, the pressure builds and builds and builds. And as I let it out, like as if I was popping a balloon, I'm free, So I know that for 20, 30 years, I've kept this secret. And only when I started sharing it was I able to, be free on the inside. So I would hope that people who have walked through this journey, similar to mine, that they just have the courage to stand up and speak about it.
Definitely.
My next question is pretty similar. It's probably going to have a similar answer, but this also happened. This happened in your home. So what do you have a message for the parents as well?
For the parents?
For parents, any parents out there, do you have any message for them as well? Because this is something that normally we believe happens outside of the family, and this happened. You experienced this from your stepfather's friend and your cousin as well. So, is there anything you want to say to the parents, whether it's how based upon how your mother and your stepfather reacted and responded to your situation?
I would say pay attention to your kids. First and foremost. Everybody whose family is not friendly, and most of the time, it's going to be family members that create that offense. I would have, like my daughter, I have the conversation with her, like, look, like straight up, if anybody touches you, either one, beat their ass if you can, or just run. Pick up something, protect yourself. Don't just sit there and let somebody touch on you, And I've never had that conversation. And I think if somebody would have had that conversation, I would have been able to protect myself. I would have been able to vocalize and stand up for myself. I give my daughter some mace. She's 15, but we have to empower our kids to either one, stand up for themselves, speak up for themselves, and point people out. There's this whole let's not embarrass them, or let's not bring shame to the family, or we're black and we have enough issues going on, and we don't want this to be on top of that. There's all kinds of crazy wrong belief systems that we have as a community, and it's not just one family, it's not just one person, it's collectively we do this. So then you have people suffering in silence, you know what I mean? And it doesn't even have to be that way. I feel, because I'm blessed, I'm truly blessed, that I'm at this point in my life, and it's for a purpose. And I try to rationalize why I had to go through 2 divorces, because that shit was hard too. HIV, drug addiction, to get to this point, but it's all for a purpose. I mean, God sending me in a place to like help men break free of the prison that we put ourselves in. Or not that we put ourselves in, that we're in because of the things that have happened to us. So, yeah.
Man, that was powerful, brother. Appreciate you sharing that. I want to give opportunity for anybody out there who might have a question for Kevin. Please feel free to put it in your comment section. In our remaining remaining minutes with him, just want to give you all the opportunity if there's a question that you would like for him to answer to come around to that question right now. And so, Kevin, while we're waiting on a few people to chime in, so overall, what would you say your healing process? What did it look like? You mentioned, I believe you mentioned, the recovery from drugs and other, I believe alcohol as well. Is there any other thing that you can say contributed to your healing process?
Yeah, it's understanding, and what that looks like is I understand that because I was molested, I went down this path, sleeping with men, getting HIV, et cetera, et cetera. It's not necessarily that I was gay, that's why I did it. It was because I was molested. Now, at this point in my life, I have the freedom to choose if I want to or if I don't. But before, I felt like I was doing it because I was gay. And just that understanding that I have the freedom to make the choice made all the difference for me.
Are there any other questions? And we're talking to the audience right now. If you have any other questions, please post them right now, and we'll get to them. I know, and I think he basically just answered this, but somebody asked, did he feel empowered to say no? I find that we raise children to obey adults, and in times like this, children don't feel they can say no. No, I didn't. I thinking back, I didn't know that anything was wrong, and it was with people that I loved. So I especially didn't think anything was wrong. Yeah, I'm just thinking, and I didn't think anything was wrong. So I trusted them. And there's no way that they would, because I trusted them, because I loved them, that they would hurt me in any kind of way. Right.
Kevin, let me ask you this, and this will be my last question. If you were to come across a young man who shares a similar story to yours, having been molested, what advice would you give to them as far as them getting healing from that trauma?
That's a really good question. Seek help. Talk to somebody. Not just anybody. The man in my life that has helped me is my mentor. He's my sponsor. He's a pastor. He's my spiritual father, and I love that man. He's helped me in my life tremendously, and just being able to talk to him openly without fear of judgment, without fear of him looking at me with disgust. I've been able to just share openly with him, and he's helped walk me through the process. I feel truly blessed to have him in my life. And for any person that's out there, I would pray that you could find somebody like that you could talk to, that would, embrace you and walk you through the process of healing. Just being able to share openly with someone. There's a group of men that I'm part of a men's group, and not everybody has the same issue. People have different issues in this men's group. And I was first able to share my story in that group with those men, and that was the first time I'd ever shared it. And the chains were broken in that meeting because I was able to share, and nobody treated me any different. No one, looked at me with disgust. No one looked, and I was looking. If any one of these cats looked down, look away, look this, anything, I'm out of here. And nobody did that. It was all love. So, seek out support of, a mentor, a sponsor, somebody who's been through it, but be careful because there's a lot of vultures out there. There's a lot of, predators out there. But seek help. That's the main thing. The sooner that you get it off your chest, the sooner the healing will come. Absolutely.
That's good. And somebody else wanted to know when, because you confronted and had a conversation with your cousin and your stepfather, but you wasn't able to speak with your stepfather's friend. But someone wants to know, when is the best time to confront your relatives?
Confront the relative?
Yes.
That's a good question as well. I would say when you're able to stand up to them, express how you feel without expecting them to apologize. Mm-hmm. Because it's very likely that the offender will either deny it, will lie about it, will put it back on you like it was your fault. You did this, you look like this, or it was your fault or whatever. So if you can just get to a place in your healing where no matter what they say, as long as you got it off of your chest, that's when you can do it. And that's obviously, like I mentioned earlier, I got it my cousin when I was drunk. You know what I mean? In the heat of trying to cover up some shit that I did. That wasn't a good idea. It backfired on me. Hmm. So once you have some healing yourself and you're able to say it without expecting anything or whatever they say, that's when you should do it.
Man, that is sound advice right there. Man, you got anything else going?
I don't have anything else.
Kevin, man, we really appreciate you being willing to come onto the show, for sharing your story with us. I already know that this your message is going to impact so many people, man. So, we're starting to see the thank yous right now, and so on behalf of our listening audience, once again, man, thank you for your willingness to come on here, your transparency. And, I'll yield these last few minutes to you in closing if there's anything that you want to say.
Well, I just want to say, thank you to you guys for having this forum, for people to open up and share. I remember when I was on social media and I seen it, I'm like, wow. I had a conversation with my sponsor, and he's telling me, it's time to start sharing your story, Kev. And I'm like, nah, I'm not sharing my story. I've got to a point in my life where I'm good. All I have to do is just maintain, move forward. I'm in school. I'm going to school to be a social worker just to help attack issues like these on the front end, And I didn't want to share my story because I didn't want to deal with the stigma. I didn't want people to be like, Kev, get out of here, you did this, judge me for my past. I didn't want that. You know what I mean? Like I mentioned, I didn't want to share my story. But it's important for people to know that the healing that I've gotten, with God's grace, that they can have it too. So God's not going to heal me and then just like, all right, go in some corner and just like not share your story and your power with anybody else. So, bottom line is thank you for you guys for having this show. Thank you for having me. And just continue doing the good work that you're doing.
Hey, Kev, we appreciate your willingness and openness and courage to even share your story, because there's no telling how many people is going to actually tune in and listen to this broadcast. I also want to share, I'm not sure how often and how consistent you are on Facebook, but there's a great group, since you're in social work and I'm in social work as well, called Black Male Therapists. That's a great resource. I'm not sure you're familiar with that, but it's a great resource. It's a great group of guys who are pursuing similar paths, and they have a great access to different resources as well. So I encourage you to really join that group and reach out to some brothers. And who knows, you might be able to reach out to some brothers that's in your state or city. So I encourage you to look up that group page. It's called Black Male Therapists.
Awesome. I will. Thank you.
All right, Kevin. Hey, well, we will definitely once again love the opportunity to keep in touch. And once again, thank you, man, for joining us on today.
All right, man. Thank you as well.
All right, blessings
to you,
brother.
God bless.
Peace.
All right, guys, we really appreciate you joining in. Please let us know your thoughts, your opinions, your feedback. Give us some feedback. We're going to be doing this for the next few weeks. We do have a few more weeks left for this series. This is our second episode, but this is our first episode of the series. So once again, we're going to be doing this for a few weeks, and it was very, very heavy. It could have went a whole lot longer.
Definitely.
But give us some feedback. What was your thoughts about everything? If you tuned in late, I encourage you to restart it, because there's a lot of important details in the beginning. But once again, we really want to educate and bring awareness to molestation, child molestation. This is something that happens frequently. This is something that is much more common than we believe. This is something that many of us are just uneducated about, and since we lack the knowledge and education of it, we are, our kids are very vulnerable. Yeah. And so now the question is, how are our kids vulnerable? How do we protect them? What are some things how do we respond? How do we react? And so forth and so forth. And we believe that this is going to really bring in some awareness, highlight some issues that we have based on our understanding. So we're really excited how everything unfolds with this series.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think one thing you'll notice, as we progress through having these gentlemen on the show, you'll definitely start to hear some recurring themes.
Yes.
And so, even with that, I'll just ask that you, give some attention to maybe some things that are going on in your own household, because you may be actually, safeguarding maybe your children or somebody who's dependent upon you. And so, once again, we just want to say thank you to Kevin for joining us. Powerful show. Please leave your comments in the section. And even if you have feature questions for the upcoming guests, feel free to post those, inbox us, and we'll be sure to ask them when they come on the show. So once again, thank you.
And another thing, if you know someone that should share their story, let them know about what we have going on. We're not saying that they have to share their story, but let's let them know that this is an option. If they feel like they're ready, this is a safe space to share their story. If they say they are ready, they are more than willing to contact us via inbox or email us info@whenmenopenup.com, and you can also go to our website whenmenopenup.com. But once again, this is When Men Open Up, a show where we are redefining manhood through transparency. My name is Dominique
And I'm Dexter Peggins.
and we are out. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much.